Good morning, children. I hope everyone is in cheerful spirits and in the pink of health. Today, we are going to continue with the lesson Dolls Over the Ages. We are going to focus on the grammar section. And what is the topic for the grammar section this time? It is active and passive voice. Now let us see what is active voice. We use active voice to state what the subject did and the focus is on the doer. When the focus in a sentence is on the doer or the person who is doing something or doing an action, we say that it is in active voice. For example, the craftsman made a bamboo doll. The focus is on the craftsman, and what is he doing? He is making a bamboo doll, or the craftsman made a bamboo doll. So the focus is on the doer, the craftsman, and so it is in active voice. The boy kicked the football. Now, who is the person who is doing something? It is the boy. The boy is the doer, and the sentence focuses on the boy. And what is he doing? Is kicking the football. So the focus is on the doer of the action, the boy, and it is again in active voice. Now let us see what is passive voice. We use the passive voice to state what happened to the subject and the focus is on the receiver of the action. I repeat this again. When we use the passive voice to state what happened to the subject, the focus is on the receiver of the action. When the focus is on the doer of the action, it is said to be in active voice, and when the focus is on the receiver of the action, it is said to be in the passive voice. Now let us take an example. A bamboo doll was made by the craftsman. Now the focus is on the receiver of the action, not on the doer. It is on the bamboo doll, so it is in passive voice. And you must pay attention to the fact that by has to be added when we are talking about the receiver of the action. So the word by is added and we write a bamboo doll was made by the craftsman. The passive voice is used when the focus is on the action and not on the doer of the action. In the passive voice, it is not always important to mention who or what is performing the action. This is very important. In passive voice, when you have a sentence or you write a sentence, it is not always important to mention who or what is performing the action. My purse was stolen. Now the focus is on my purse and who stole it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I am not sure. Maybe it is not important. The important fact is that my purse was stolen. Now another example. In Korea, a traditional doll was made out of a bamboo pipe and long grass was used to form hair. Now here we are talking about the Korean doll, what it was made of. A bamboo pipe and long grass was used for hair, and so the focus is on the traditional doll. It is not important who made this doll. Some important points you must remember when you have to rewrite the active sentences in the passive voice. Remember these points. First, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence. For example, I told you the boy kicked the football. The football was kicked by the boy. In the first sentence, football is the object, and in the second sentence, it becomes the subject. So the first one is in active voice and the second one is in passive voice or a passive sentence. The subject of the active sentence becomes the agent in the passive sentence or is dropped. So when you have the subject of the active sentence, it becomes the agent. Like you have a bamboo doll is made by the craftsman. Now craftsman was the subject of the active sentence. Now it has become the agent. And in many cases, in passive sentence, it can be dropped if it is not important. Some more things you must remember. The preposition by must be added when the doer or agent is being mentioned. Made by, sung by, written by. So if I have a sentence in passive voice and the focus is on the receiver of the action or the object, or the other sentence has the doer which has become the agent, I have to use the word by. The past participle of the verb must be used. Now let us see an example. Betty watered the flower pots is in active voice. Now Betty is the doer and the focus is on Betty. So this sentence is in active voice. Now the action watered the flower pots, the receiver of the action, flower pots. So flower pots becomes more important, becomes the subject, and the focus is on flower pots, and Betty, the doer or the agent, becomes less important. So now I have to use the past participle of the verb and also add by. So what will my sentence Betty watered the flower pots be in passive voice? It will be the flower pots were watered by Betty. When we have a personal pronoun, this is very important, as the subject or the object, then what are we supposed to do? The pronouns should be changed accordingly in the passive. So the pronouns need to be changed. When I am writing in active voice, the pronouns will be different. And when I change it to passive voice, the pronouns will change accordingly. Now let us take a very easy, interesting example. I helped him. But when I'm writing in passive voice, I can't write him was helped by I. Is it sounding right? No, it is sounding totally wrong. Him was helped by I is totally wrong. So according to my sentence, I have to change it to a correct noun or pronoun in the passive voice. So now my sentence becomes, he was helped by me. And now it is sounding right, and it is indeed right. Now we have in your book, that is Real English. Please open your books on page number, that is 73. You have three exercises: C1, C2, and C3. C1 is on the recipe for a mango shake. There are brackets. In brackets, you have some words. You have to use these words, that is the correct forms of these verbs, to fill in the blanks and complete the recipe for a mango shake. Then you have exercise C2. Change the following active sentences into passive ones. Then we have C3, which is very interesting and very different. Good Health Hospital wishes to put up notices with the following messages. Write the notices in the passive voice. Now there's a hospital called Good Health Hospital. They want to or wish to put up notice with the following messages. The messages like saving water. So they have given an example. If they want to give the message to save water, they could put up a notice in the passive voice focusing on water, and water, that's why, becomes the subject, and they can put up water should not be wasted. Now we have these three very different exercises on passive voice. But first we will start with C2, which is change the following active sentences into passive ones. Active sentences are given and you have to change these sentences into passive ones. Now please open your books on page 73. Take a pencil or a pen and also take out your study book or your rough book. As we are doing it, you need to write down the answers. If you are jotting down the answers in the textbook, please use a pencil. And in your rough book or your study book, you can use either a pen or a pencil. Now, has everyone got her book, his book, and a notebook? So let us start. The first one, our teacher helps us. The focus is on our teacher. Our teacher is the subject or the doer of the action, and the focus is on our teacher. So it is in which voice? It is in active voice. Now I have to focus on the object or the receiver of the action, that is us. As I told you, if I have this sentence, us are helped by our teacher. Is it sounding right? No, it is not sounding right. So what the rule said, that when we have a personal pronoun as the subject or the object, the pronouns should be changed accordingly in the passive voice. So please remember to change the pronouns according to your sentence and then write it in passive voice. Please write it in your rough notebook. Have we all written? Now we go to the second one. The sun gives light. Again, the sun is the focus. The focus is on the sun. And what is the action? Gives light. Now, when we change it to passive voice, then Light has to become the focus. So please write it in passive voice in your notebooks. Now the third one. A child read out the lesson. Who is the doer in this sentence? A child. And what is the child doing? Read out the lesson. So we will take the past tense pronunciation. A child read out the lesson because there's no S. So it must be the past tense form. So we will pronounce it as read. A child read out the lesson. Now the focus in the passive voice should shift to the lesson. So please start your sentence with the lesson dash 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 and write it in your notebooks. Now we come to the fourth one. The radio jockey announced the prizes. Now the focus is on the radio jockey. RJ is the short form. So the radio jockey announced the prizes, but when we are writing in the passive voice, then the focus has to shift to the object, the prizes. So then your sentence in passive voice has to start with the word the prizes. Please frame a sentence in the passive voice starting with the words the prizes. Now four more for you. These two, 5 and 6, are a little different because 5 and 6 are questions. But these are questions in the active voice and I have to write it in the passive voice. Did you buy the red dress? Here the focus is on you and now you please think and frame a question again. If it is a question in the passive voice again, it has to be a question, but the focus has to shift to the red dress. Now, are you cooking the meal? Again, cooking the meal is the action and you is the person or the doer and the question focuses on you. Now you have to focus on the meal, but it should remain a question. These two are a little difficult, but those who have paid attention to the rules will be able to do it quickly and correctly. Now the seventh one. Ananya was milking the cow. Now here I want you to remember that if you have anything in the continuous tense, you have to see whether it is in the past continuous, present continuous or future continuous first thing, and then you have to change accordingly. And when you change a sentence into passive voice, and this sentence which you are changing is in continuous tense, then you will have to use the word being. B-E-I-N-G. So please remember, add being and start with the cow and frame a sentence. Done. Now the last one. The florist sells flowers. Now the florist, as all of you know, when we were doing professions, a florist is a person who sells flowers and bouquets. Now the focus is on the florist. Your sentence, which you are going to write in the passive voice, should focus on flowers. Start with flowers. And then, of course, somewhere you'll have to add the word by. So, sells is in present tense. So, it has to be changed according to your sentence. Now, let us look at the answers. The first one is our teacher helps us. So how does it change and what we have to change? We are helped by our teacher. I told you that us are helped by our teacher is wrong. So you will have to change the pronoun and it is we, which is correct. Are helped, because it is helps, then it is in present tense and it changes to the perfect tense, but according to what we have in the sentence. So, are helped. If the sentence was our teacher helped us, then our sentence would be we were helped by our teacher. But here it is helps, so we are helped by our teacher. Now, the second one, just tick your answer if it is correct in your rough notebook. If it is wrong and you have written with a pencil, you can use an eraser and write the correct one. If you have written with a pen, you can just circle it and write what was wrong, correct it and write the correct word. Now, the second one, the sun gives light. The focus is on the sun. Now, when you have to write in passive voice, the focus shifts to light. So, light is given, gives again is in the present tense. So, is given by the sun. Now, third one I had told you, we will take the word read as the past tense form. So a child read out the lesson. How will it change? Now the focus has to shift on the lesson and it has to become the subject. So the lesson was read out by a child. Now the next one. The radio jockey announced the prizes. The focus is on the person, the doer who is announcing the prizes, and he is the radio jockey. Now, what becomes important or what comes into focus is the prizes. So, the prizes were announced because the past tense is there. So, were announced by the radio jockey. Have you corrected these four answers and written the correct ones? Now we go to the next four. Fifth one is, was the red dress bought by you? Is the answer of did you buy the red dress? Our question was, did you buy the red dress? Now, if I don't change did the red dress bought by you? It will be wrong. So I have to change did and frame a proper sentence. And was the red dress bought by you is the correct one in the passive voice. Please remember that you will have to change some other words as well to make it grammatically correct. But if you have a question, it has to remain a question. And if you have a statement, it must be a statement. So the fifth one was the red dress bought by you. Now the sixth one again is a question. Is the meal being cooked by you? Is the answer of are you cooking the meal? Now you say are and is, there's a difference. No. But first we were talking about you. So are you cooking the meal because the focus on you. But here now we are talking about the meal. So is the meal being cooked by you? And a question mark. Now seventh one, Ananya was milking the cow. And as you can see, this is in the past continuous tense. Was milking the cow. So it has to change accordingly in the passive voice. What will the sentence be? A cow was being milked by Ananya. A cow was being milked by Ananya. And the last one is very easy. After these three, which were a little difficult, comparatively difficult than the others, the florist sells flowers. The florist is the person who sells flowers, and the focus is on the florist, the doer. Now the focus has to shift to the object or the receiver of the action. So flowers are sold by the florist. Now are sold because it is in present tense sells, and it is not in continuous tense. If we had the sentence, the florist is selling flowers, then flowers are being sold by the florist. But here it is just simple present tense. The florist sells flowers. So our sentence in passive voice will be flowers are being sold by the florist. Now I'll give C1 and C3 as homework or as prep. Please see your prep, read it properly, and do it before we meet for the next class. Thank you, children. Have a great day. Take care.